Welcome to session 2. We want to continue with display layers. Display layers are real powerful stuff which can do much more than just hiding visibility or templating stuff. So let's choose this one, click on the right hand side button. It's going to add it to the layer, and you get a layer with the selected object. So let's go and name this one, create a color for this, and then let's do the other way around. Let's just click on an empty layer here, just double click, name this 2, and give it a color, select this one, right click, add selected object. So these are different ways of adding objects into it. And the third one, again, let's go and create a layer, or we can also go to layers and create empty layer from the menu. And the third layer, we can name this 3. Let's give it a color, save it. And right now we are not adding anything to the 3 one. Let's do it a different way. Let's do it some other way. Right click on this, go to membership. When you go to membership, you open up the relationship editor. The same window can also be opened from window relationship editors and display layers. From here you have the 3 layer. Right now it is empty. You see this 2 things that's already got objects inside. The 3 layer is nothing, and we want to add in the cone. On the right hand side, just go and choose the cone here. The moment you do that, it's added to the layer. This is another way of adding it. So you get all the 3 layers filled up here. Just go to wireframe on shaded, and let's take out the reference thing, and you can see the colors that are getting reflected with the layer color. So it's easy to identify. If you don't get to see here, let's go and do one thing. Let's go and put in shading, smooth wireframe, and maybe if you want to see that better, let's add it little. Let's put in little thicker line so that you can see this, right? So the color generally represents the wireframe here. Apart from this, let's go to layers. Okay, you have this layer from selected, select objects in the layer. So just by just clicking on this, whatever object is there in that layer gets highlighted. Also you have membership that we saw just now, and you have attributes. Attributes is a very beautiful option. Each layer has got an independent attribute, and from here you can go to display type template. The same thing that you do there can be done from here again. So when you go to template, you see this in a freezed wireframe, and reference, again you can see the shade, colors, everything, but still you'll not be able to select it. And you also have level of detail. You can go to bounding box or full. Maybe if we get onto a different layer, you'll get to see that. And then shading, if we apply a material here to this, so let's go and give it a texture for this material. For this one, let's apply a checker texture here. You can see the texture. So if you move back to the layers and attributes, right, and you take off texturing, this also saves a lot of your memory. The performance of your file is really good. So we can use this efficiently to improve the performance of your scene. So shading can be taken off only for specific objects. You can remove this, or we can just change it to bounding box. Playback is also a very good option. Imagine we have an animation on this. Say we put a key on this, and let's move this there, and you see this object moving here. And if you don't want that to get, if you don't want to see that in the viewport, because that also consumes a particular part of the memory, we can go and switch off the playback option here. Once we do that, then the object is no more animated when you play the scene. So you can just do only selected playbacks. If suppose you want to see only this object's animation, we can do that, so that it becomes light and easy to work on. Visible, that. So color, definitely very useful. You also have a unique number to every layer, assigned to every layer. The name and the number are unique to every layer, right? You have a layer name, you have a number, and this can be utilized while you are importing objects into your scene. Let's say if I'm importing a different file into this, I can just go down here, and display layer you can import by number or by name, so that it doesn't create a new layer, it just gets merged into the existing layer. You also have autosave option. Just start using this. Just because I was scrolling through, I wanted to tell you this, but the moment you see autosave, you all know that this is a very useful option. If you enable this, and you can keep prompt before save off, otherwise this annoying window keeps coming here. If you forget to save, this creates backup of all your files. That's one. And if you much more again, so you have delete selected layers, this, delete unused layers. Yeah, if suppose there is an empty layer, it goes off. And select all layers. This is something really useful. So you have set all layers and invisible. If you go and do this, then every layer's visibility is gone. A real useful option to quickly manage all the layers. Set selected layers invisible, so only the selected layer goes off. Again, the third one is really useful. The third option, set only selected layer. So whichever is the selected layer, we want to see only that. Let's say, imagine in a complicated shot, you have around 15 layers and quickly you want to see only one particular layer. You can make use of this option. So let's go there, select only selected layers and just say visible. Immediately all the other layers goes off. So this is a real useful option. You can just quickly make use of these options in the script editor also. You don't have to every time go into the menu. It really saves a lot of time. For example, if suppose I am in 3 layer and let's go and execute this one. So let's go to set only selected layers visible. When I do that, then I get to see this stuff. Select this one, middlemost, drag and drop it here into the shelf. So you have this there. And you can make use of the same command at any layer. If I'm in this layer, just by a click of a button, I'll be able to make use of that. So similarly with this, so you can just create some mel buttons. You don't have to know mel for this, just a concept, and making use of the scripts that are existing and available in a smart way. Okay, let's go to options. Any new layer that is created will become the current layer, and add new objects to the current layer. Any new object that you are creating will automatically get added to the current layer. So this is about quick layers. Particularly explore this option in a complicated scene. This is really useful. Okay, we'll quickly go through the move tool options. They're very interesting. Right, to access them, you can press W on your keyboard. That is a shortcut for a move tool, right? W and left click will take you through some of the main options that are really useful, right, immediately. Or you can just double click this. You want to get the tool options here, or you have this here. The moment you click on this, you get the tool options, right? So let's reset the tool. And world, you all know this is world, right? If I'm going to choose the object, though it is rotated, world, it behaves display, heads up display, origin axis. The world just behaves exactly based on this origin axis here. And then if I move on to object, right, if I want to choose a particular object, then the transform gizmo is aligned towards the rotation of the particular object. It considers all the rotations given. And one of the most interesting things about this is if I start moving this, it will maintain the offset and just move it in a nice way. It goes like that. So this is one good part about object. And you also have something called as local. The moment you move on to local, see, as the name goes, I have another file here. You have this box and the ball, right? There's two objects here. The moment the parent is rotated, say if the parent is something of this sort, and you can see the child also getting rotated here. If I'm going to select this guy, he's also rotated towards this axis, right? So you don't have to, even if I set up all the values 0 here, it doesn't matter. So whatever is the rotation of this one, this guy takes up from the parent. The transform gizmo is taken from the parent. This is local. And the world and normal. See, normal is again a very interesting option. Every surface has got U and V direction and a normal direction, right? So normals, if you have to see display, NURBS, and let's put on normals in the shaded mode. And if I go and choose a vertex here, so you can see that's want to move exactly. This is real good option while modeling. There are certain things that you can easily achieve by moving an object in the normal direction. And V direction, that's like you can see it moves along the surface, and then the U direction, this also moves along the surface. Okay, and you also have something called as along rotation axis. If we go towards along rotation axis, in the beginning, it looks as if it is the same like object. There is no difference between the object and along rotation axis. The only one difference that we can point out right now is if we can go to display, transform display, local rotation axis, put this on, press F8 in your keyboard, take off this question mark, and if I just manipulate this, if I just go and manipulate the local rotation axis here and then come back to the original and go to W, now you can see this is pointed towards the local rotation axis. So in case if it is edited, then along rotation axis. So object mode is something now different. You can see the difference between these two now. I hope you get this. Along live object axis, this is also interesting. So let's make this live. And along live object axis is also very interesting. So if we go and pick up a geometry here, okay, and the moment we say along live action axis, along live object axis, you can immediately see this, it moves along the live object axis. I hope you get this, right? It automatically understands stuff. Very interesting options. And then you have custom axis rotation. It's like your X, Y and Z. If you want to define, like you want a specific, the transform gizmo to be in a specific direction. Let's say if I have to rotate this 60, then I can say custom axis rotation and it exactly does the same here, right? So if I put in 120 there, and it does the same thing here. Again, you have set to point, set to edge and set to face. By clicking set to point, you can click on the same object or on a different object. Let's say if I go and click on this, right? So the local, the axis, the transform gizmo is going to get aligned based on the point that we set in. Similarly, it works same with edge and same with face. Preserve child transform is a very interesting operation. See, imagine your parented object, right? And most of the time it goes together. One of the things that you can easily achieve with preserve child transform, if you put this on, you can choose a parent and easily reposition it. So the child will not be affected. Again, click this off and you can do this. Okay, preserve UVs. The next one is also a very nice option. This will help you avoid this warps after texturing. If you know, generally if you notice after texturing, if you start moving the vertices, that the look of the texture looks slightly warped in the object, right? So to avoid that, let's you know, this is a good option to do. Let's go to UV texture editor, open this up. Now every vertex, you know, whenever you select a vertex and put this on preserve UVs and keep moving this, you can see over here the UV also moves along with the vertex. The UV portion also gets basically this moves in the UV space and this moves in the 3D space, but this also gets updated. So generally to avoid warping. I hope you get this. Then you have something called as discrete move. Again, most of you would have used this. You've been using this. J is the keyboard shortcut for this, right? If you put on discrete move, you can move it in integers, you can move it in specific values like what you put in here. So by default relative is off. So let's see the difference between relative. By default it is off right now. Let's start moving this and you can see it's moving every 5 units, right? 5, 10, 15 and like that. So if we put on relative, so before that let's do one thing. I'll move this to 3.6, let's say, okay, and put on relative here. When I do that and start moving this, you can see it goes through 8.6. It maintains the relative value which it already had and adds on top of it. So let's say if this is off, okay, and I come back to 3.6 and I start moving this, you can see that it rounds up to 5 and then goes to 10, 15 like that. I hope it's clear, right? We also have something called a tweak here that's really good. So if you put on the tweak mode, let's say, let's go closer. Okay, this is very interesting and good for minor adjustments of your model or your UV textures. Tweak mode, we put this on and see, you have this transform gizmo right now. Okay, that's gone once you put the tweak mode. Can you see that? Right? And if you can just go to this vertex, so you can choose the vertex and start moving this like that. So if you just go there, you can start moving this. It happens only in the. So if you want to go by a keyboard shortcut for this, right? So if I put off the tweak mode, right now you can see you're in the global this thing. Acute key, the key that is below the escape, acute. Once you click and hold acute, the tweak is on, right? Click and hold this key, and then you can. It's a hold. You have to hold it, and then just go into this thing and start tweaking it. It's really useful, comes very handy to do minor tweaks. That's the tweak mode.